Hey guys, it's Charlie. I wanted to let you in on a little personal update. So, my father ended up getting out of prison about a month or so ago, and of course, I ended up coming out to him. Contrary to what I believed in my last video, or what I said to him in the last video, it actually went really well. He he called me up and was like, hey, and he said my birth name, and I was like, hey, Dad, what's going on? And he's like, oh yeah, so I just got out of prison. I'm staying at your Uncle Jerry's place, and this entire time I was just completely frozen. Like I had no idea what to say. I had no idea how to react really, and I was like, oh well, that's cool, I guess. And when and he's like, so if you want to come over, feel free. I'd love to see you. I want to talk to you about something. It's like, oh shit, what's going to happen, you know? And so I was like, oh yeah, that sounds really cool. I'd like to do that. And he he's like, if you want to come over now, feel free. And so I told him, I was like, well, I'd love to, but I need to tell you something. And I did my whole spiel saying, for the past 2 to 3 years since you've been in prison, I have started my medical transition to being male, and I would like to stress that I am much happier of a person than I was before you left, and this feels really right to me. And he's like, well, I kind of figured with your voice. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And so I was like, do you still want to see me? And he said, well, yeah, sure. I mean, just because this is the way you are, I guess we have more in common. It's like, what? And he was totally fine with it, and this was about a month ago. And I actually just got back from seeing him. He, the other day, it was Christmas, of course, Merry Christmas, by the way, or Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate. So, the other day my dad called me on Christmas, and he said he was on this total, I'm the only person that is in his life right now. He was on this total dead set path on making me feel guilty about him being alone on Christmas. I was planning on seeing him that night, by the way. He called me, he's like, hey, I'm just sitting here alone on Christmas, Merry Christmas, blah, 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 it'd be nice to see you. And that was it. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go now, bye. So I ended up going over to see him today, and I said, it's like, so what was going on the other day? And, went through the whole long spiel about what happened, and it ended up being a little bit better. So he actually opened up to me today, and about the whole trans thing, and he said, the only thing that I'm not okay with is the fact that you did it so early. I'm 20 years old, and I've been on T now for almost a year. And I was like, okay, I respect that. But how long would you have wanted me to wait? And he couldn't respond. I told him, Dad, I have been technically, if you think about it, I didn't come out until I was 16. So I waited for 16 years to tell anyone about the way I was. I didn't really realize that this is exactly what it was up until the age of around 14 or 15. And I was just in the closet because I was afraid of not be able to find someone who would love me back for the way I am. And so I told him, I was like, well, I technically waited for 16 years, 19 to start medical therapy. It's like, yeah, well, it's the only thing that I'm not okay with is how young you did it. When you get into your late 20s, you start thinking completely differently. And I was like, oh, I know, I'm starting to change my views on how the world works and how I used to think. And I'm sure it's going to change again when I'm in my later 20s, And he's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I tried to tell him, I was like, well, if you think about it, Daddy, so you were in prison, right? And he's like, yes, of course. And I said, so if anyone knows about that, they think that you are a bad person. You know to yourself you are a really good person, and I know you're a good person. But to the rest of society, they think of you as this person who's just going to do harm. No one wants to hire you. They just see this really bad thing. And would you change that if you could? Would you make it to where no one sees this criminal? Would you do that? And he was like, well, yeah, of course. I'm like, that's what I'm doing in a certain way. The entire world, from almost the entire world, before I started testosterone, saw me as this person that I am not. And I took my first chance to be able to change that. And now that society sees me the way that I feel, the way I am, I'm a happier person. I don't have any anxiety issues like I used to. I'm not depressed. I still get sad, but I'm not depressed. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense, you know. I mean, he's still very set in the fact that he wishes that I waited a little longer, but the fact that I changed his view just a little bit makes me feel a lot better. And he said that he's noticed that when I was dating women, when I was identifying as a woman, I didn't take care of myself. My hair, I never did my hair. I always wore like jeans and a shitty t-shirt, you know, and like not very well fitting jeans. And now that I have come out as a man, I dress very well. I try to present myself in a very nice manner. You know, I'm groomed all the time, and I'm losing a lot of weight. I've originally, before I started T, I was up to a size 42 in pants, and I'm getting down to a 36. So it's going really well. And I told him this because the body that I have now it makes sense. It's starting to make sense, and I'm taking care of it because this is my body. Before, I didn't feel that way, and so why take care of something that really isn't yours, and just constantly makes you perceived as this person that you are not. So, sorry, I went on my whole little random tangent, but it was a really big day today for my dad. I talked to him as man to man, and I explained to him, you know, Dad, if you keep introducing me to people as your daughter or as my birth name, they're going to be very confused, because no one I know still refers to me as my birth name or birth gender, and no one ever sees me as a woman. And so he was like, oh yeah, and I was like, you are the only person who does. And he kind of got weird about that. So we'll see how it goes out. I'll keep you guys informed. Next month is going to be my 1 year anniversary on testosterone on the 22nd. So it's looking pretty crazy. So I'm going to do a little side to side. I just got a beard trimmer, so I trimmed up my face a bit. So yeah, I hope you guys had a great holiday. I hope you enjoy your new year, and I'll see you guys later. I'm going to try to update a little more often, but I find that they get kind of boring if I don't have anything big. So I'll try to do what I can. I'll see you guys later. Bye.